Hello, and welcome to the Daily Space for today, Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. I am your host, Annie Wilson. Most weekdays, we're here putting science into your brain. Usually Wednesdays are for Rocket Roundup, and today is no different. So, let's get to it, shall we? First up, on the 29th of November at 7:33 UTC, the Japanese Data Relay Satellite 1, also known as the JDRS-1, was launched from the Tanegamisha Space Center on an H2 Alpha 202 rocket. JDRS-1 is a dual military-civilian data relay satellite. It will primarily provide downlink for the Japanese government's IGS fleet of radar and optical reconnaissance satellites. The civil payload is a laser communications device hosted on the satellite, which was developed by JAXA, the Japanese Civil Space Agency. JDRS-1 was launched into a geostationary transfer orbit by the rocket. It will raise itself the rest of the way up into a geostationary orbit over the course of the next few weeks. This image shows the H2 Alpha rocket on its coastal launch pad. In the foreground is some vegetation, and on a small peninsula is the launch pad, with a berm surrounding the pad on the ocean side. The launch pad has two catenary towers on the land side and the single tower and hanging lines of the mobile launcher. And yeah, we have launch video, so watch your ears. This was provided by volunteers that capture Japanese launches. Main engine start. That was awesome. All right, our next launch, Falcon Eye 2, finally took off at 1:33 UTC on December 2nd on a Soyuz 2 from the Guyana Space Center in French Guiana. This was the fourth launch attempt following multiple scrubs. The last scrub was on November 30th due to problems with the ground system, specifically the telemetry receiver. Without that, they literally don't know where the rocket is, which is kind of problematic. So yeah, that scrub came after the scrubs on the 28th and 29th because of the weather. The satellite was originally supposed to have been launched on the Arianespace Vega, their small class launch vehicle. The customer, United Arab Emirates, had previously used the Vega for the launch of Falcon Eye 1, which unfortunately was the first Vega failure. It was switched to a Soyuz 2 for a launch this past spring, but a problem with the frigate, which is the fourth stage of the Arianespace's Soyuz, caused a delay in that launch by a month, and then it was pushed to the fall after a decision was made to completely replace that fourth stage. The failure of the Falcon Eye 1 launch was caused by a problem in the Vega's second stage with one of the motors that caused it to not make orbit. This launch marks the 1,928th launch, both successful and not so successful, of an R-7-derived Soyuz since 1957. Reminder, rocket launches are loud.
Pour le début de la séquence d'allumage du lanceur. Top, H0 moins 20 secondes. Largage du mât VKM. Allumage triétage.
Ignition happens before launch.
Tout
It has
vidéo,
to
attention
build
pour
up.
le début de le décompte final. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Décollage.
and then it goes up into the clouds. So, and now an update on China's Chang'e 5 lunar lander. It landed successfully on the moon on December 1st at around 15:15 UTC. The intended landing site was the Mons Rumker region, part of the Oceanus Procellarum. My apologies, that's a mouthful. It's also known as the Ocean of Storms, which is a bit easier for an English speaker to say. Obviously on the moon. The Chang'e 5 was launched by a Long March 5 rocket, which is China's heaviest operational rocket, a little more than a week ago. State media initially announced live coverage of the landing, but coverage was pulled shortly before the start of the landing burn. Gradually, unofficial sources began to indicate that the landing was successful. After some more time, state media confirmed the landing's success, with amateur radio trackers reporting receiving signal from the lander, providing independent confirmation of a successful landing. And there's a short video put together that shows some animation. Like, this is an animation of it landing, and in a bit we'll see actual footage. Like, this is actual footage of the moon as it's coming down, and it gets closer and closer, and you can see all these craters, which is actually pretty amazing. And I know they may look like hills. Trust me, they're craters. It has to do with our brains being weird. And there's the shadow of the leg. And boom, that's it. All right, to wrap things up, here's a running tally of a few spaceflight statistics for the current year. There are currently 5 toilets in space. 2 installed on the ISS, 1 on the Crew Dragon, 1 on the Soyuz, and 1 that I don't think is installed yet on the ISS. We've burned up 3 toilets in the atmosphere. Humanity has put a whopping 1,173 satellites into orbit. This number includes those launched from other in-orbit craft such as the ISS. Directly from rockets, we've launched 1,142 satellites, and 833 of those are Starlinks. There have been 100 total orbital launch attempts this year, including 10 failures. I keep track of orbital launches by where they launched from, also known as spaceport. Here's that breakdown. China, 35, USA, 33, Kazakhstan, 7, French Guyana, 6, New Zealand, 6, Russia, 5, Japan, 4, Iran, 2, India, 1, Israel, 1. And your random space fact for the week is that scientists use aurorae on Jupiter's moon Ganymede to confirm the existence of a subsurface ocean. And that rounds out our show for today. I'm going to now answer questions from our live audience here on Twitch. While I look for questions, I'm going to remind you that this is a production of PSI, that's Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond.